Hey guys, hope you're having a great day as well as a great life. This is a different type of video, so I'm just gonna give you a little bit of backstory. Over the past year or so, I've been slowly getting into like self-improvement, just trying to like better myself and add to my human capital in different ways. And so I recently decided I want to start listening to audiobooks. And so I did some research. I was like, yo, where do I start? Like, what's the best audiobook to get into? And every article, everywhere I was going was saying the 7 habits of highly effective people. I didn't do any research beyond that. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start there. And it was very, very, very different than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like 7 habits that I physically could just like do, like something like, oh, well, get a habit of sleeping, good, get a habit of meditation, get in the habit of eating right, get in the habit of working out. I thought it was gonna be much more like that, but what I found was something that was much deeper than that. It was really principle and character based. The ideas of inside out, not outside in type of like approaches. And as I was realizing that it was that type of book, oh, this is that kind of book where you're like really digging deep and going to the roots of yourself and why you have behaviors. So I'm just gonna go over some of the main points that I found through the book that really like affected me as I'm doing this review. So the first and main one was you're programmable. As you're growing, you get these scripts that you have these behaviors and these habits that you naturally do. Like you go from work, the first thing you do is, oh, I watch TV, or the first thing you do is, oh, I play video games. You're scripted. And he said, so you're programmable, and the cool thing about life is you are the programmer. You can rewrite those scripts. You can take the time and rewrite it and just live through that. And that kind of hit me, because you do the same thing every day, year after year. You're doing the same shit. And so that caught me, in a sense, especially because I'm going to school for computer engineering, so I'm already programming. So when he said you are the programmer, for your own life, I was like, Probably one of the bigger ideas that I'm really getting from this book so far, again, just finished it, was the idea of the emotional bank account. Whether you have this big relationship with somebody or it's just a coworker or just an acquaintance, there is an emotional bank account you have with them. And when you listen to them, when you make eye contact and you're hearing them, it's like you're making these small emotional deposits over time. And when you're not listening to them, when you even have potentially manipulative behavior or just like different intentions, people sense that, and it becomes what could have been a nice deposit now becomes a huge emotional withdrawal from that emotional bank account. And as people trust you more, as you develop these deep relationships, it makes sense that like as that emotional bank account is super high, you're able to quickly get on like a deep level with conversation, where if someone doesn't trust you and you made a lot of withdrawals, it's going to take them a long time, if at all, to trust you and really open up to you. So that was just a huge, game changer, because I would just go through life and very small things. I'm like, oh, damn, that was a withdrawal, or oh, I just made a deposit. That's cool, in this relationship with somebody. And no matter how big or small or how important or not important the relationship is to you, every relationship should be important in its own right. And I just think that was a cool concept that I got. Another huge one that he touches on towards the end is synergy. You can accomplish so much more with other people and being interdependent rather than just independent. Because I feel like I went a large portion of my life being, oh, I'm independent, I do things on my own, blah blah blah. And I found, just in practice, and especially after he's explaining it, that with synergy and working with others, you're able to accomplish so much more. It's like, let's say like with this channel, for example, I'm back when it was just me, I'm putting in effort, I'm doing this, blah, blah, but it's like 1 + 1 is still 2. It might be 3 sometimes, but you add Alex in the picture, and now it's like 1 + 1 is 5. 1 + 1 is 10. 1 + 1 is 56,000, and it's things like that I find very interesting, that like when you work with people, that's how you're able to get the most out of something, is with the synergistic mindset of like, oh, I'm working with you. He also spoke a lot about win-win and having that kind of approach, whether it's like negotiations, just like anything. People are kind of scripted, especially in the business world, to like walk into a situation with win-lose in mind. It's like, I win, like, you have to lose so that I can win, rather than having more of like a resource abundant mentality, where it's like, in most situations, the reality is we can both win. And if you're having the other person's best interest in mind, then you can get a win-win solution a lot faster. Another point that he ties into this is seeking to understand, and then you seek to be understood. People are so busy trying to think of your next response. You're too busy thinking of how you're going to say or how you're going to prove your point, where you're not really listening to what the other person is saying. And people sense that. And if you're not seeking to understand somebody, especially in a business, situation, how can like they trust you? How can they trust that you have their best interests in mind? Whereas if you sit there and you're like, hey, like, what are your concerns? I'm looking for a win-win. I want to win. I want you to win. I want everyone in this situation to win. Like, what are your concerns? I'm going to seek to understand you. And then next thing you know, they want to understand you. And then you can really get into synergy, where now you're working together for that third alternative. That's what he spoke on And I've been applying that in my day-to-day life whenever I can, and I've been seeing results in terms of just like my relationships with the people around me. Even close relationships, like with like my parents, my girlfriend, my siblings. When you approach a situation with more of a win-win mindset and just like synergistic mindset, you can reap way more fruit than if you're walking in like, oh, it's my way or the highway. And he talks about private victories and public victories. Like, let's say with music, people are so quick. Oh, I want to be a rock star. I want to go play in front of 100,000 people. Blah blah blah. They want this. They want all these public victories. But you haven't sat down and picked up the guitar and put in the hours on your own time. You really have to invest in yourself privately. Because how can you really own and claim like this public victory if you can't even do it like on your own? And if anything, when you have all these private victories compounding onto each other, you can walk into a public situation with much more confidence and play something. It's like, even with guitar, it's like when you're playing guitar in front of somebody, you're probably playing at like 75% of your actual potential than if you're on your own. But if you practice so much on your own time, when you do play in front of people, even though you're at 75%, 75% of your potential is like, can be monumental. Overall, the book was just very personable. The audiobook, like if whoever's voice that was, if it was the author's voice, he has a very like just like warm and comforting, voice where he's really like, you feel like he's talking to you. You feel like he's very genuine expressing these concepts to you. It doesn't feel like he's lecturing you or trying to, spill his autobiography. That's also another point he was talking about. Like, if you're trying to help somebody or help a friend through a situation, don't do it by spewing your autobiography or trying to like, oh, I developed these lenses, these glasses that work for me, so I'm just going to try and prescribe you your lenses. It's like, okay, you're trying to prescribe somebody before you effectively diagnose them. Like, what if you went to a doctor and the doctor just looks at you and goes, oh, yep, you have this, and then just prescribes you, and you're like, you didn't even look at me. How are you going to trust that person who didn't at least diagnose you before they prescribed? He felt very personable, felt like someone very humble and modest person. And it just made it easy to absorb the material that he was trying to convey. And overall, I can't say like how much the book has affected me already because I just finished the book, but I can say I'm going to try and, use these habits that he spoke on through my life as much as I can, like starting somewhere. I'm already starting my second audiobook, The Atomic Habit or something like that. Either way, so book was awesome. It was very cool. It made my walks very entertaining. It made me enjoy my walks much more, the fresh air. And it helped me lock in my habit of morning walks. Because before, I wasn't really walking every single morning. But then after I started the audiobook, I'm like, oh, I have to walk because how else am I going to listen to my audiobook? So it's crazy how cool habits can like build off of each other. Sorry for the crazy random video. I just finished the book and I was like, I kind of want to do a review for this because it just felt cool, and I figured it was a very popular book, and I made the assumption that like probably a bunch of you had also read it and maybe like can share your experiences with me on it, like when you read this book and how it affected you. I feel like right now it's setting me on a pretty cool trajectory, spiraling up, and I'm just gonna try and maximize my moments and my habits and making sure I'm taking steps in the right directions. But yeah, so let me know what you guys thought of this, and I'll see you guys next time.